Hello, this is Jyotirmoy Shil. We shall be discussing on development of writing skill. These are the topics. So, why we would call writing a skill? The answer is simple. Writing needs to be learned. In order to write in a specific language, you need to learn that writing. You need to learn how to write. So that's why it is a skill. So, writing skill is a specific ability which enables persons to state their desires, put their thoughts and actions into words in a meaningful form, and to interact with the message. According to Robert Lado, writing is graphic representation of a language. Pictures or symbols do not constitute writing unless they form a system representing the units of language, and those patterns can be grasped by the reader. So, what are the basic components of a language? These are alphabets. Together, these alphabets, the combination of alphabets would create words, and if you just juxtapose the words side by side, this would not necessarily mean that would create a sentence. So you need to adhere to certain grammatical and syntactical norms in combining the appropriate and necessary words. That's why these words would create a sentence. So there are certain norms, rules, grammatical order, syntactical rules, according to which you need to combine the words so that the sentence would be created, and these sentences would create the text, an entire text. So writing is a graphic representation of a language. Why? Because writing is the written form, that is something that you can see, graphic that you can see. Writing and writing skill. So writing is the outcome of writing skill. If I know how to write, that's my writing ability, that's my writing skill, and the thing and the lines I would write, this would be the outcome of my writing capability or writing skill. Components of writing skill or the strategies of writing skill. Mechanics of writing skill. This would refer to the handwriting, spelling, punctuation, word selection, vocabulary, idioms, this using suitable words in particular contexts. Organization, that would refer to the combination of sentences that would create a paragraph, or the pertinent lines related to a topic. Syntax, sentence structure, sentence boundaries, stylistics, and so on. Grammar, rules of verbs, agreement, articles, pronouns, and so on. Content, relevance, clarity, originality, logic. So this is also important. The content of writing is this is something, this would refer to the relevant lines, relevant points, clarity of thought, originality, creativity, and logic. The writing process, that is getting ideas, and it's just getting ideas and getting started with writing something, and writing drafts, first draft, and then editing the first draft, then it would become the final draft. We know all these things. Purpose, it is necessary that there should be one purpose behind writing. There cannot be, but with purpose, writing process would become effective. Fluency first approach. Adele McGowan Gilhooly propounded this concept, fluency first approach. Suppose one student is learning English as a second language, and you are giving this student a writing task. Now, if you constantly hinder the writing process by making him concerned about the grammatical orders and the spelling mistakes, syntactical errors, then this candidate can become frustrated and the writing process would be hindered and he can be discouraged. So in order to discourage the writing process, in order to make this learning swift and pleasant, we should not be interrupting all the time by pointing out the mistakes. So that is fluency first approach. Preparing students to write. The aim of teaching a student how to write should be to make that candidate achieve independence, that is self-reliance while writing, and comprehensibility, fluency and creativity, imbibe creativity and putting his own creative thoughts, ideas into into his or her writing. So steps to enhance the writing skill for ESL students or second language learners. Activating prior knowledge. The experts or the teachers should provide a brief idea or a very short outline of whatever the topic on which the task is given, on which the writing task is given. If you ask your student to write an essay on Mahatma Gandhi, then you should give a brief idea about Mahatma Gandhi's achievements and his contribution in our Indian freedom movement. Then it would help this learners to frame their ideas in a coherent manner and to write down their own points of view and obviously the knowledge they have gathered on this great personality. Vocabulary preview. Now, when one is learning a new language, this is the case with the second language learner. When someone is learning a new language, it is quite obvious that he or she would have a limited vocabulary. So while you are giving a writing task, it would be necessary to provide them the necessary dictions that could be pertinent in the writing task, so they can utilize those writings and in the process they would memorize those also. Types of writing. There are two types of writing basically: limited writing system and full writing system. Limited writing system refer to pictographic form of writing. That is, in this writing process you can find that several images are organized coherently, chronologically. For example, hieroglyphics. If you look into hieroglyphics, you can find these are a series of pictures, and through these pictures, some ideas are encoded. So this pictographic writing process is called limited writing system. And what is full writing system? That is alphabetic writing system. There is no picture usually, but you need to learn the use of particular symbols or alphabets and how to combine those alphabets to create words, and by combining those words to create sentence. Barriers to effective writing. Disregard for conventional rules. Suppose someone writing in English from right hand side to the left side. If someone is violating intentionally the basic law of writing. Misappropriation of rules. If someone is not adhering to the syntactical norms or grammatical orders. Bad writing habits. Suppose one is writing illegibly, that cannot be read easily, illogically and haphazardly. Non-standardization. Suppose someone is trying to put his thoughts into his writing, but the writings, he is not quite capable of encoding the thought. So that's why the writing would seem a bit awkward. Now this is also a part of bad writing system, barriers to effective writing, that when you are not able to encode your thoughts into the process of writing. Opposition to change, when someone is willingly avoiding the suggestions that he or she was given by the teachers or the experts. So that is opposition to change. Translated writing, that is the problem, that is the common problem with the second language learners. Why, suppose you are giving your students a task and you are asking them to write an essay on Himalaya, then usually what they would intend to do, they would think in their own vernacular, they would think their own mother tongue, and then they would try to translate those ideas into the language they are learning. The language they are learning. So this is the process through which they would generally intend to write their thoughts in the language they are learning. Now this is a bit problematic. First of all, translation is harder task than thinking in a different language. Even for a newly introduced even for a second language learner who is newly introduced to the second language, even for him or her, thinking in that language would have, and writing afterwards would be easier than this candidate's attempt to translate the thoughts from his or her mother tongue to the language that he or she is learning. So what is advised, that the second language learner would be taught to think in that second language. Okay, so that would be quite convenient. Learning process of writing: pre-writing, copying and reading texts, transcribing, composition, and then reading literature. These are the ways one can learn writing, but these are the not fixed ways of learning writing. This may vary depending on person's capability and background knowledge. Effective writing. What is effective writing? Legibility, that is, whatever you are writing, that should be read, that one can be able to read your scripts. Clarity of thought. Now the clarity of thought should be reflected in your writing, and adhering to norms, adhering to grammatical orders, syntactical orders, and other norms related to language. This is very crucial. Challenges faced by the second language learners: limited vocabulary, that is the most common one. The person who is newly introduced to a different language would generally have the limited vocabulary. Second language learners are reluctant to use invented spelling, and content is restricted to words that they know how to spell. So the second language learner would tend to use the dictions they already know over and over again. So in this way, their writing would be quite would seem quite repetitive. Okay, verbs tenses are inaccurate sometimes. This is the most common one, that error in tenses and verbs. The chaotic structure and grammar of students' composition make their writing difficult to understand. When someone is newly introduced to a different language, then it is quite frequently seen that this candidate would make mistakes in grammatical in grammar and syntax. Students are reluctant to share their work during peer editing. When they do share, they prefer to work with other second language learners who may not provide appropriate feedback. Suppose um, I am going to suppose I am learning Italian language, then I am newly learning Italian language. Then if I write something in Italian language, then it is possible that there can be numerous mistakes. So I could be a bit ashamed of presenting my writing to a group of people who know Italian very well. So this shyness is quite common. When English language learners or second language learner read their uh, writing aloud, they have no sense of what sounds right and what doesn't. So problem of pronunciation, that is quite common. In many cultures, students are not encouraged to express their opinions. English as a second language, or the second language learners may have little experience with creative writing bring from their native language. So it's something that when the point is written in a very complex way, but the fact is that when you are writing a different language, then it is quite difficult for you to make some creative writings like poems and stories in that particular language. Mechanics of writing: ability to shape the letters, knowledge of right combination of letters, that is spelling, skill of cohering the words sentence, skill of composing sentences, and control over punctuation. Now things are written in a bit complex way. To simplify this, first of all, you need to discern the alphabets. Secondly, you need to know how to combine those alphabets to create words, and you need to know how to spell. You need to know how to combine those words to create sentence adhering to certain grammatical and syntactical norms. And the skill of composing sentences, that is what is called as discourse. Control over punctuation: you need to use the appropriate punctuation like full stop, semicolon, colon, comma, whatever, in appropriate position. Now types of writing: letter writing, essay writing, descriptive writing, narrative writing, informative writing, report writing, greetings, and so on. This is variable. So loss in encoding and decoding process. Loss in encoding process. Now encoding would generally mean that while writing something, whether I'm able to encode my ideas into that writing, so that when someone is reading my writing, he or she should be able to decode my thought. That is encoding. So writing is an encoding process. So while you are writing, you are basically encoding your thoughts and ideas and opinions into that writing. So losing encoding process: suppose I think something but I am unable to encode my thoughts, so that is loss in encoding process. Okay, loss in decoding process: when writings are misunderstood and readers do not comprehend the meaning. So if I am writing something, I am trying to mean something, but the reader apprehend the text in a different way. That is very common. I try to mean something, but the reader apprehend the text in a different way. So that should be loss in decoding process. Once again, while if I'm not able to write appropriately, if I'm not able to encode my thoughts appropriately in writing, then it is obvious that the decoding process would not be appropriate, so there would be loss in decoding also. Errors in writing: graphological level. Suppose there are ways of writing alphabets like a, two lines and one middle line I think you know how to write these alphabets. And suppose if I'm writing F in a different way, suppose if I am just writing F in the manner of T, so that is the error in graphological level error. So this is called graphological level, when I am not able to write or draw the alphabets appropriately. Morphological level is something that when I don't know how to combine the alphabets in order to create the words. Grammatical level, that is, I don't know the grammatical order. I think you are well aware of what grammar is. So grammatical error in grammatical level is very common. These are the references. This is the reference. Particularly I'm indebted to this paper 12 module 15 in UGC EPG Pathshala. This is the link. So thank you.